Welcome everyone to the latest Indie Dev Showcase here on the channel, highlighting the many game demos and submitted games we play. Play submitted game for a future piece, please get in touch. We are starting off this episode with Residual. This is a kind of side-scroller survival adventure, I guess, style game. So think of something like a Terraria, or pick any survival game. Again, I don't play a lot of these on my own, but mix in some more puzzle solving and adventure aspects. So you have crash land on a mysterious planet, and it is up to you to figure out how to get off it, solve any grand mysteries, and of course build all variety of tools to help you. So the basic loop of this one is going to be you need to collect items for survival. And the survival aspect is not going to be as super deep or as extensive as some of the more challenging games. Instead, it's going to be focused on getting the tools and items that you need in order to make more progress in the world, in order to solve the puzzles, which will unlock more areas, more items, and so on and so on. My main issue with this game, again, as someone who's not a huge survival style fan just to begin with, the game definitely hits a lot of the kind of annoyances, at least that I have for the genre, of having to collect lots and lots of miscellaneous stuff, have to always go back and make sure you have enough storage, and again, just the constant building, repairing, construction. Now, the controls for the basic moment-to-moment of this gameplay is alright. It is a little, I would say, sticky in terms of moving around. Like, do not expect this to be like a Mario where you have instant control and movement of the character. Now, all in all, I would say that this game definitely is kind of in the middle between the survival and the puzzle aspect. So you have to be a fan of both and not one or the other. So if this does sound interesting, I would say at least give this one a check. But if you're hoping for full-on puzzles or full-on survival, crafting, building, I'm not sure if this game is going to hit those extremes. We now have Toem, and this is, I guess, Pokemon Snap meets Hidden Object in an unusual way. This is more on the casual side of things. You play a character who is going out to explore the world. Unfortunately, we don't have any money. So in order to pay for our fares, we need to do a bunch of scrapbooking and photography challenges in each one of the many areas to earn us different badges, or stamps, which once we get enough, we basically pay for a free bus ride to the next area, rinse and repeat. So the world itself is made up of a variety of challenges. Each area has its own set of things ranging from take photos of specific characters, complete little mini challenges, etc, etc. You can also find additional tools, clothing options, accessories that can also change or affect how your character behaves. All in all, this game, I would say, is definitely on the, easier side of things. It's not going to be super hardcore puzzle logic or things like that, but this is another really solid, rainy day or casual style game. I can't really think of anything I would change in terms of the design or the moment-to-moment. This is one of those games that it knows what it wants to be, and you're either going to be interested in taking photos of various things, or this game will probably wear out its welcome for you very early. I enjoy this one, and it does have that great completionist aspect of having to get all the challenges in an area, gotta find all the MacGuffins and hidden photographs, etc. So if you do like your photography and looking for another game to kind of relax and take some shots with, I would say check out Toem. And now for something very different, this is Source of Madness. Please note the footage that you are seeing is taken from the early access build of this game. The game has been officially released at 1.0 as of this time, but we have not had a chance to go back and play it, and what you see may not represent the current version of it. But this is an action roguelite, where our kind of key marketing point is that not only is the world procedurally generated, as well as what gear we find, but so are all the enemies, and even how they move and respawn. So all the enemies kind of follow the kind of stitched together from miscellaneous body parts and things that they will use to shoot, claw, attack, and of course try and kill you. So this is definitely leaning onto the Lovecraftian body horror, what the heck is that thing and how does it move at me kind of design. The general play, in a weird way, reminds me a little bit of a Valley Without Wind. That you're going to be shooting and equipping all kinds of projectiles and different shots, and you're going to be trying to spam as many bullets and blasts as you can in order to kill these enemies before they, well, finish you off. The game leans into the kind of Souls-like storytelling with lots of weird terminologies, places to go, lore to find, that kind of thing. My big issue that I had with this game when we tried is that the moment-to-moment or the general combat just didn't really feel responsive or interesting. It felt like the enemies and myself were kind of operating in two different games. And I don't know, again, with the game having played in early access and being released, how things have improved or grown since then. I think the procedural generation of the enemies is a very interesting design, but it also has that situation where you are going to be completely at random in terms of what you're going to be seeing and facing. So some areas can be unnaturally harder or easier because of it. I would say at this point, if the idea sounds interesting to you, at least give it a check, especially with it being out and after, months of updates and refinements. But I do think that this is a title that can be a little bit hard to jump into, considering everything that's going on and the issues I had with the moment-to-moment and just general play of it. So with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have 3 more games to look at for our showcase. If you're interested in my thoughts on design, then check out my game design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with free-to-play coming in 2022. I Am Fish is the sequel to the game I Am Bread, which was a kind of, bread-moving simulator. Here, we switch from bread to a fish, and kind of a Finding Nemo-esque kind of tale where we are trying to get back to the ocean and, of course, maneuver through the realities of life as a tiny little fish. So, similar to I Am Bread, this is entirely physics-driven, as you control your fish by kind of each button or each bit of the analog stick controlling a different part, like the tail, the fins, that kind of design. Your mission is to get from one end of each level to the next through all manner of different conveyances. There's collectibles you can find, as well as, of course, time trials, get through without dying, that kind of thing. My issue with this game, much like with I Am Bread, is that the play is more about fighting the controls than it is about the actual moment-to-moment gameplay itself. And just by saying I Am Bread, that should give you a pretty good indicator if you are the right audience for this game. If you found, again, that kind of, fighting or being challenged by the controls as opposed to the gameplay of I Am Bread to be interesting, then I would say this could be a good game to play. But if you were immediately turned off by that kind of design and UX, then I Am Fish is not going to change your mind in any respect. We now have Dice Legacy, and this is a very ambitious and intriguing concept. It's described as a rogue-like city builder dice management, in a very interesting mix of terminology here. So it also takes place on a rim world, I guess just because they didn't think of anything else original they could throw into this one. But the concept here is that our dice represent the different people who live in our town. Different dice can belong to different classes. Those classes will have different faces of said die that correspond to how they can work or what they can do on any given turn. So that if, let's say, I want to run my farm and get food, I need one of the faces of the dice to be of the farming job. If I want to do construction, it has to be a construction dice. And again, you can kind of get the picture. So your mission here is that not only do you have to deal with what dice are rolled each turn, you have to manage the different factions, build corresponding buildings and structures, weather and the seasons will change, and there is certainly a whole lot going on. You'll also get the ability to manipulate dice based on being able to hold dice for different turns. Dice have to be fed, and again, like from a kind of an interesting design perspective, Dice Legacy certainly hits things out of the park there. But the quality of life is definitely troublesome. Because you are dealing with dice, it means that what you can and can't do on each turn is entirely up to the fates and RNG. But in a city builder, as we all know, if you don't get the resources you need to keep your people happy, they'll become upset or die, which then makes it harder and harder to bounce back. And this is definitely one of those games where, at least from when I played it, it is very easy to get into a downward spiral, where you're not able to keep your dice alive, so they die, which then makes it hard to keep the remaining ones alive, and then you fail. Since the game has been released, I know the developer has been looking at all the comments and feedback, and they have put out a substantial number of patches in order to try and course correct and make things a little bit easier. I have not had a chance to go back to this one, unfortunately, to see if that is the case. I would say for this one, just on the combination of systems and mechanics alone, it's definitely worth at least checking out. If any of this sounds interesting to you and you have not played it yet, at least give this one go to see where it's at. But unfortunately, again, I can't tell you if things have been improved dramatically since we played this. For our last game of the episode, this is Shieldmaiden, the Remix Edition. I don't know what is different in the Remix versus the Standard. This is 2D action platformer, where our key element here is that we have kind of our own little virtual holographic shield that we can use to block, smack, and throw at any enemies that stand in our way. It is the apocalypse, or I should say post-apocalypse, and we are trying to find our sister in the remains of a city. So, standing our way is going to be all variety of robots, mysterious villains, and more hidden things to find. So, the general play with your shield is pretty good. It's very responsive. You can throw your shield out, you can block with it, and you'll be having to make use of all these abilities as you fight normal and boss class enemies. My main issue that I had with this game was that it did feel a little bit annoying in terms of the platforming. There were cases where it felt like it was a lot harder to jump than it should be. And the boss fights, or the one that we fought in the demo, or I'm sorry, in our play of it, was definitely like a huge spike in terms of difficulty. Like, it felt like the boss was just doing more than what the game was actually giving me the abilities to fight easily. Now, that could just be onboarding issues as well, but this was one of those games that, as we played more of it on stream, the frustrations started to mount in terms of keeping me from enjoying this one. But I would say that it definitely does have a very solid core to it. I don't know if anything else has been done since we last played it, but I would say in terms of like modern retro gameplay, this is at least worth a check if the general gameplay sounds interesting to you. But that is going to do it for our showcase. Thank you for watching. Do all the liking, subscribing, and commenting. Again, if you'd like me to check out your game for a future stream and showcase, please reach out. Be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games.